What's going on? Jack here, taking a look at the Duke basketball roster heading into the 2016 season. It will have been 232 days since Duke lost to Oregon in the Sweet 16 to the first game in Cameron against Marist. And obviously, a lot has changed. And before I get too far into this video will be primarily focused on the roster. And then in a later video, I'm going to look at some of the big games on the schedule and make predictions for the season. So the level and the depth of this talent of the team is just vastly more improved than it was a year ago. Last year, after the Emil Jefferson injury, they were basically playing a six-man rotation in which that occasionally Chase Jeter was the seventh man, but that was rare in and of itself because he usually would come in and pick up two quick fouls. Now, they are projected and they're the preseason number 1. And last year, don't forget they were the preseason number 5, which was, I think, more of a reflection of kind of the weakness of the state of basketball in college last year than anything else in terms of their ranking. But this year, it sure seems to be that they deserve that number 1 preseason ranking. They have a ton of guys in Harry Giles, Jason Tatum, Marquise Bolden, and Frank Jackson and Grayson Allen, who are being looked at to be potential first-round picks in this year's draft. And that is just very rare for a Duke team, although it's becoming more and more the norm that they are, neck and neck with Kentucky in terms of producing high-end one-and-done talent. And so for this season, what really matters, though, is the defense. And the reason I say that is because any Coach K team is going to have a great offense. It may take a little bit of time for the guys to gel and really get good chemistry together, since this is a whole new group again, for all intents and purposes. But defensively, they have so much athleticism this season that they should be very, very good on defense. And, I think that they could potentially be a top 10 defense this year, as well as continue to be a top 10 caliber offense. Obviously, this team, the weakness that people like to point out for them is the lack of a true point guard. And yes, that could be a problem, but they have so many intelligent basketball players that it really shouldn't matter as much. And last year, without a true point guard, they were still a top 5 offense. And if last year's team can still be a top 5 offense, and this year's team can definitely still thrive offensively. And they have a great balance of veterans. With Grayson, this is his 3rd year, which is hard to believe. Matt Jones is a senior, and Emil Jefferson's now back for his 5th season. And even, Luke Kennard is a sophomore now, and he's got a year under his belt. And then you have, obviously, the freshmen in Harry Giles and Jason Tatum and Marquise Bolden and Frank Jackson, just to name, those 4 there. And those are the 8 guys who I anticipate being, in the rotation come conference play. Coach K does not really like playing, 10 players, 11 players. You'll see that in the beginning of the season, but that rotation is going to shrink. And the first big test for them, I don't want to get too much into the schedule here, but will be Kansas. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the rotation shrink for that game before expanding again for some of those weaker non-conference games. But, between Grayson Allen's scoring ability, Matt Jones' ability to space the floor and play defense, Luke Kennard's ability to score offensively, Emil Jefferson's versatility on defense, as well as his offensive rebounding, that's a good team right there. And then you add in the stud freshman in Harry Giles, who, yes, he's coming off of another ACL injury, so I anticipate him being worked in slowly, but he's still a highly talented player, someone who I kind of think reminds me of, Chris Webber and his ability to push the ball out in transition especially. And then Jason Tatum's just a great scorer, especially from the mid-range, and just adding more offensive versatility. And those 2 guys, I think what you're going to get. Marquise Bolden, I've heard a lot of things both ways with that guy, whether he's more of a defensive player or more of an offensive player, I'm not sure. But he sure is a big body who knows how to finish down low and will hopefully provide a solid presence at that center position defensively. And then Frank Jackson is just a freak athlete. It will definitely be fun to watch this team. They're going to dunk more than I think any Duke team has in recent history, if not ever. And transition time is going to be highlight time, and they're going to spend a lot of time on ESPN's top 10 plays there. But some guys that I think that aren't in those 8 that should be paid attention to. Definitely, for one, Javin Delaurier, who, the team just seems to rave about his work ethic and his athleticism. And so I definitely see him playing in the beginning of the season, and he's a guy who could force Coach K's hand into making that rotation just a little bit longer. Chase Jeter also had a great summer in, Adidas Nations, played pretty well there, and so I'm hoping to see improvement from his game heading into his sophomore season. But guys, let me know what you think about the Duke roster heading into next year. Make sure to come back for the next video where I discuss the schedule and make predictions for the season. Thanks for watching, and please share and subscribe.